Hello everybody, Zach here, and welcome to Wreckfest 2. I am checking out the early access, and I did this in a kind of, I'll be upfront, and I did this in a kind of backwards way of how I usually do things. I recorded this, and I'm gonna talk to you guys about the Wreckfest 2 early access while we watch some footage of it. This is one of the first races that I got into in game, and I've got it at medium difficulty, which basically puts everything at half. Now, it doesn't really adjust the difficulty of the bots, and I think damage in this one is set to normal. There's 3 different levels of damage, and yeah, it's really cool to see the early access of this next Wreckfest. Now, if you go back to the original Wreckfest, it was originally, I think, called Next Car Game, and I think I even checked it out on the channel when it was in its early access, early stages, and it didn't even really, I don't even think first it had races. I think it was more of just the sandbox level, and I think me and my friends even checked it out back then. Now, what I will say almost immediately is that there does seem to be at least one level more of difficulty here in Wreckfest 2 in terms of just the overall physics, damage, and the AI. The AI in this, and I'll show you in the other races too, it's just more aggressive in my opinion. I don't know if it needs tuning, and I also remember, Wreckfest has basically more of a difficulty slider too. Also, you can see here too, damage model and the physics look awesome. This is me trying to rejoin like a numbskull, just getting hit. But everything about this is Wreckfest, and I was about to say, in mostly the good. There's some of the negative of that, like if you really get banged around in the these are banger races. If you get banged around in the first sections of the race, it's going to be difficult for you probably to catch up and get back with the rest of the pack. And on here, you got the figure 8 going through there. Also in the HUD, you cannot adjust at this time kilometers that I could find in the settings. Kilometers were set to, it was set to kilometers. Here's some of the inside cam, which you can do while you're actually racing, and you've got a couple different hand signals that you can do. But yeah, I've enjoyed what I've played so far in the early access. I just think that, of course, things are going to come to Wreckfest 2. This is why it's in early access, and they're looking for not only bug information to see what people find out in terms of the bugs that are out there, but they're also looking at, people's opinions to further the development of the game. And I think it made for a great game in Wreckfest 2. Other than some of the DLC stuff in Wreckfest, other than some of the DLC stuff in the first Wreckfest proved to be have a great multiplayer mode, but also have a great story, quote unquote, campaign mode to it. So yeah, the original demo here is for the most part way more bare bones. I say demo, sorry, early access is bare bones relatively. There's only a couple tracks, there's only 4 cars, and there's some customization options, but not what you've come to expect from the first Wreckfest. So don't expect, if you're interested in supporting them and starting out by playing these things, play through them, play the multiplayer, see what you can kind of break to. I don't mean obviously in terms of the dynamics and the physics, but see what's broken, see what doesn't work. And report it. That's kind of the whole point of it. But know that you're not getting a full-fledged game, and it only starts, I believe, at this time, early access on Steam for $20 or so. I think it's even discounted right at the start. I think it's going to go up to $25, and then who knows what it will become once we get closer to a full release. So there's also a roadmap and everything, and we're going to take a look at that. I also did not play any of the multiplayer here, so I didn't even check that out. I just played single player against the bots, and you'll see in a little bit, I played Destruction Derby as well, and you'll see even more of the physics there, the dynamics there, and how sometimes they're so over the top, but they're great. The damage model is really great in this. The sound design's really good too. Let you listen to some of this race fully, without me talking too. But in terms of speaking about the cars that are available to you, I went in here and showed you the Road Slayer, which is an American, the Rocket, which is an American, obviously more like a Mustang. We have American one, which is I like, which is like an old Chevy, and a little Golf for European. So I think it'll be really cool to see what the stable becomes in this game going forward. And then those are some of the options, including the assists, which I said normal has everything basically on half. Easy has full, half, and full. And then, like I said, normal has those mix, and then hard obviously has none, and very hard makes the shifting also manual. So you have those as the different options for assists at this point. And then, we have quick race, custom race, fine match, and server browser. They're obviously pushing multiplayer early on. These are all the different tracks that you have available to you. And I'm going to head to the testing grounds and check out some of the physics. You can see I messed around with this earlier. I was trying to see what much the time limit would go to, and it does go to probably even higher than that, but I had set it to 365, so I have to adjust it back down. But this is the testing ground. You'll recognize it from being very similar to the initial testing grounds that were in the first Wreckfest. But man, Wreckfest is still very true to its name. And I love the physics of this. I don't do particularly well in this. I think I was kind of, at least that's what I'll blame it on. I was more focused on showing off the physics and showing off the wrecks, which I want to go into the replay too and see what I can see in terms of see what angles I can select. I know you can set up like a free mode cam. I wanted to park myself and either get somebody to come and hit this or, be flung up myself, which I love that flings you up so high and I landed on cars, and then there's just more and more nonsense. So again, the nonsense is there. That car just went flying. I'm glad to see that, all of the basic systems are there, and I don't have any doubt that this Wreckfest will shape up to be a deserving of the number 2. Some people wonder, you're like, well, why don't you just build more and more into that base game? But, they have, like I said, I didn't love some of the DLCs, or in terms of having to pay for some of the DLCs. But I get the model. And because a lot of people will support this day one, so they'll be basically paying in at a lower amount. It kind of does make more sense for them at certain times to kind of go that route. But I do want to see, I want to see what happens when it goes into the full access, what the price becomes, and then how much goes that same route in terms of DLCs. Yeah, the physics here are great for the Destruction Derby. I'm interested to see what tracks come out for Wreckfest 2. And like I said, of course, the stable of cars. It'll be interesting. There were some really nonsensical vehicles in the first Wreckfest that I love. The bus, the RVs, and racing with those types of things. It gives you hilarious results, definitely in multiplayer. But I want to see what happens with just the regular stable of cars and what we see in terms of American muscle and European vehicles. It'll be really interesting. All right, so Savalak's Sandpit. So you'll recognize this. It's a very similar layout to the Sandpit level. So a lot of these things are either, I think, being reworked from the first Wreckfest, if not going to be heavily based off of the first Wreckfest. I'll let you hear some of the inside cockpit on this one too. Also, I thought I was doing pretty well, and then I just completely lost it. I was actually up towards the front, and this really will ruin, like I was saying earlier, this will really ruin the rest of my race, pretty much. But again, the difficulty here, too, is the AI. The AI are pretty aggressive. They're pretty aggressive to pit you or to kind of latch onto your rear end and kind of spin you around. And I get it, right? These are banger races. That is the point. Also, this was just some terrible driving from me. I know I'm going to get the comments, and I agree. I got to get good too. So that's part of it. And here I am at the back. Now, I also did this race on easy, and I don't think I finished particularly well either. I wanted to see if easy really gave me an extreme advantage, and I don't think it did. Again, I think the difficulty of the AI, and I don't know, I'm just speculating that based on the first Wreckfest, that we'll also get the same type of system where you're able to set your difficulty to basically kind of whatever you want. Also, I went back here and I wanted to go over into the sandbox and just give you guys an example of the destruction that the sandbox is able to do. There isn't really a free roam to just go into this sandbox level. So I set up a destruction derby match and I kind of just left it because you can kind of just leave it in this map. There's no real confines on where you're in your destruction mode. So I wanted to see what this, compactor would do to the car. And I love the physics here. Look at that. Can't leave that way, unfortunately. I guess I could have went to the right there, but yeah. So the physics are still great. There's some cars out here in the distance that I think got lost. Talk about no confines. There's some cars just, I think they were resetting because they are technically too far from the match. But yeah. The physics here are great. The initial offerings are pretty fantastic. And the base is there. And I'm hopeful to see what in the first year here of the early access we get, what changes, and what changes from the first game, but what is ultimately what we know and love from the first game kind of injected into this one. So we'll have to see. All right, but talking about that, again, the game modes from the start, we have single player racing and derby with up to 24 players. We also have the multiplayer racing and derby with up to 24 players and bot support. So I like that those are in the game from day one, basically in the early access. We have 3 different tracks, the scrapyard, the speedway, and the sandpit. They're not even saying that the test track is a map, which I like that they didn't technically say, hey, this is a map, because there's not really racing on it. It is more just a destruction derby, and you're able to kind of go off and do whatever you want. Again, there's 4 cars that I showed you, the 60s and 70s American muscle cars. We've got the EU banger car, which is the golf-like car, and the US banger car, which is the Cavalier-esque car, or Pontiac Firebird kind of car. Again, basic paint customization is there. I didn't really cover that. It is basic. It is, you can just hop around the car, pick different colors. You got a garage to edit and save those car designs. And then we're going to check out some of that replay mode as well. The basic PC requirements here, which they say are lower during early access. For minimum 1080p 30 set to low, you're going to have Windows 10 or 11. That makes sense. Core i5 8600 or equivalent 6-core GPU or CPU, sorry. 8 gigabytes of RAM, a GTX 1060. So the minimum requirements are actually not that bad. They do say, though, system requirements will be lowered during early access. So I don't really know what that means in terms of what they're going to elevate them to at some point. The recommended for 1080 60 is a Core i7 9700 or equivalent 6-core CPU, 16 gigabytes of RAM, an RTX 3070 or higher. Everything right now is 15 gigabytes of storage. And Ultra to target something like 4K 60, Core i9 9900 or a Ryzen 7 3700, RTX 4070. So I like overall the graphics requirements there. They're not really that, I mean, I know Wreckfest has been around for a while, so these aren't insane. Again, we will have to see what they become when this game comes out of early access. All right, thanks for coming along and checking out Wreckfest 2 early access with me. I'm going to be showing you here's a little funny moment that actually, when I went back into capture some of the replay, I had this physics problem happen basically twice, where something about the replay and the syncing of kind of the car compactor made for 2 funny moments that really ridiculously changed this vehicle. It didn't happen in the physics of the real game, so I don't know what that's about, but maybe I'll go ahead and submit the footage and submit the bugbear. But yeah, here is some other 0.5 footage that I recorded by just using the free cam. It's kind of finicky, the first replay mode here, but I do enjoy the shots that I'm able to get and the photo mode so far, even though it's kind of in its infancy and its bare bones. So I'm really looking forward to what this game shapes up to be. If you want to check it out for yourself, it is in Steam, is on Steam early access, and you can pick it up for yourself right now. There are a bunch of people playing the multiplayer already. There were no shortage of servers when I went back in and looked. So there are clearly other people basically playing this day one. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys potentially enjoy Wreckfest too. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.